What's up, polyglots? Good afternoon to everyone. Today I'm going to talk about some of the lessons that I learned when I was an English teacher. Okay, I taught English for 5 years in Algeria, and I learned a bunch of things, when I was teaching English. The first thing that I'm going to talk about here is grammatical rules. At first, when I was teaching, I concentrated much on explaining grammatical rules. Later on, I realized that grammatical rules do not help students to master any language. It helps them, to speak a little bit. So it doesn't really contribute much, because here it's like when a student is trying to speak, they will always try to remember the grammatical rules. Is this correct? Is this how I say it? Of which a language is mostly used for communication. So what is important is to be able to communicate. Okay, so grammar here, I'm not saying grammar is not important. You should not learn grammar. But what I'm trying to say is you should not concentrate on grammar. Okay, so I concentrated much on grammar, and it didn't really give good results. And later on, when I changed the strategy, students learned better. Okay, so I was teaching grammar in an indirect way. Okay, learning it in context, just explaining something, saying something, and then students could pick up that, okay, this is how I say it, this is how I say it. Okay, so that's the first thing that I learned. And the second thing that I'm going to talk about is correcting. Okay, continuously correcting mistakes, it's counterproductive, because whenever you correct the student, okay, whenever they make a mistake, you correct. Every mistake you correct, they will lose confidence. So in the end, they'll just stop speaking. Okay, so let students speak and make mistakes. Okay, even if you are learning by yourself, you are not a teacher, right? Make mistakes. Okay, if you do not want to make mistakes in a language, you have to make a lot of mistakes. That's how you correct them. Okay, so make mistakes. Okay, right. So it is important to know that you do not have to always continuously correcting. When kids are learning to speak, you do not correct them. What is important is you understand what they are trying to say. Sometimes you laugh with them. So this is very important to note. Okay, the next one is a homogeneous class doesn't exist. When you say homogeneous, it means everyone is the same. Okay, this is important to know that some students like listening, some students like watching, some they like speaking. Okay, I had a bunch of students who were saying, no, I'm just here for speaking and stuff. Okay, of course it's important to know how to write, to speak, to do this, but just knowing that in a classroom I will never have the same students, it is very important. Okay, even if you're a student, now you are in a classroom, you have to know that in this classroom I'm not the only one, and everyone has different expectations, different interests. Okay, so now when because Stephen Krashen talked about comprehensible input. Okay, and he said that comprehensible input, it has to be interesting. So now it is difficult for a teacher to find something that is comprehensible and interesting for everyone. Okay, each one of the students. For me, I like languages so much. Okay, so that means in the classroom, maybe I'll be giving students something to listen, concerning language learning. Maybe some students don't like it, some students like football. And I realized that sometimes, when we were talking about football in the classroom, some students were off. Like when they were just absent-minded, they were not concentrating, because they do not like football. Okay, so it is important to know that sometimes having comprehensible input is very important, and it has to be interesting. So now what do? You group the students according to their interests. Okay, if you are a teacher, you group students according to their interests. Those who like cooking, give them things about cooking. If it's something to read, if it's something to watch, something to listen to, it has to be about cooking. It has to be interesting. You do not have to force people to do what they don't like. Otherwise, they will not concentrate. They'll be just doing it to kill time, and it will not bring any results. Okay, if you are a student that is learning a language by yourself, make sure that you listen to things that you like. If there are books you like about love, romantic stuff, okay, football and what, watch videos about that particular subject that you're interested in. If you are to read books about that particular subject that you're interested in. Okay, right. And then the next one is about exams. Okay, what I saw is, somehow exams were counterproductive, and to a greater extent, and students just didn't like exams, and I think, I'm not saying you shouldn't give exams, but what is the goal of giving the exam? That's one thing that you have to understand. What is the goal? What am I going to test here? Okay, right. So you must have that objective. Okay, if you are learning by yourself, now you have to evaluate yourself. Okay, self-evaluation is very important. So I think for me, I'm into self-evaluation rather than that, just evaluating everyone, as a teacher and stuff, because now you're giving them a test about grammar. How is it going to help the students? Of course, you're just going to correct them and say this is, but how does that help the student? It is very important to know, is it going to help the students or not? So sometimes you just give a test because, for formality, but that test is not going to contribute anything. So for me, it's just a waste of time if you are doing something that is not going to contribute to the main goal, which is the students have to be able to speak the language. So now if the test is not going to help them to speak the language, then I think it's just better to do away with the test. Okay, or maybe you find other ways of testing students. If the goal is about speaking, then give them something about speaking. Okay, when it comes to correcting students, I think it is better to, when someone makes a mistake, let's say someone says, let's say he says he live in Canada. How I corrected students is like, I just say, he lives in Canada. So now the student realize that, okay, this is a mistake. You do not say, no, you don't say he live, you say he lives. That way the student will not even remember what you have said. Okay, but if you repeat by correcting, okay, you repeat it in the correct way, then the student will just realize that here there was a mistake, and they will be able to correct that mistake. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to talk about is our presentations and storytelling. Those are very important tools when it comes to teaching. Maybe you're not a teacher, but you have kids that you want them to speak English. Storytelling is very important. Okay, with my students, we always had that time, for storytelling. I'm just telling them some things about my country, about my life, about what, and I also gave them time to do the same. Okay, and I saw that, after a short period of time, we had good results. People could express themselves very well, and when they are giving you their stories, you do not have to correct them, just to listen to the story. Okay, as long as you're able to follow whatever they are saying. Ask them questions, by correcting that mistake, but you ask it as if it's a question. You mean he lives in, you mean this, okay? So it is very important to use storytelling. Then presentations. Give students, I would give them a choice. Go and look for a topic that you love. Let's say, I remember this other girl, she did a presentation about what? About India. Like in India, guys, they pour acid on girls' face. If you propose someone and then they do not accept, then you can just pour acid on their face and what. Okay, that was very sad, a sad story, but it was interesting, so now they choose something that they like, and then they start teaching other students. So that was very effective. Okay, so if you are a parent, I don't know, you have kids who are learning English or any language, give them time, tell them to go and look for any topic, and then they come and they do the presentation. Okay, I also saw that reading helps students so much. Okay, so give them time to read, encourage them to read, not only in class but at home. They have to be able to read books and stuff. Okay, I have a friend, Lina, who is in Nigeria. She reads so much, and when I was teaching them, I would see that this person reads, because when you have a discussion, you have a lot of things to talk about, and the grammar, the vocab, it was just super good. Okay, it was fantastic. So it is very important to encourage students to read. I'm also encouraging you viewers to read. Make sure that you read. Okay, make sure maybe you read a minimum of 10 books every year. I think it's going to help you not only in language learning, but also you'll get a lot of of knowledge from that. Okay, anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for sharing with friends and family, and I'll also put some comments. What's your opinion about what I've just said? Okay, if you have other better ways that you think they help students, you can share with us. Thank you so much. Peace.